There was a voice message left. I'm going to read it to you. You did leave this voice message.
Yes, I did leave this voice message.
And it's, hey, what's up, you half N-word piece of blank. I saw you on Twitter. You've been training 10 weeks. I want to blank in your mouth. I'm going to slap your blank mouth. Going to slap your real mother across the face. Laughter. You're still a rookie. I will kill you. You hear that. Going back to that now, do you look at that and say, I left that for Jonathan Martin?
When I see that voicemail, when I see those words come up across the screen, I'm embarrassed by it. I'm embarrassed by my actions. But what I want people to know is the way Jonathan and the rest of the offensive line and how our teammates, how we communicate, it's vulgar. It's not right. When the words are put in the context, I understand why a lot of eyebrows get raised, but people don't know how John and I communicate to one another.
All right, folks, we're back on the Steve Malzberg Show. Of course, as you probably know by now, is Richie Incognito, who has been suspended by the Miami Dolphins for what some are calling the bullying of the fellow offensive lineman Jonathan Martin, who left the team now a couple of weeks ago. Joining us now to talk about all of this is my friend, Jared Max, formerly of 1050 ESPN radio here in New York, where he was a talk show host, and also before that, WCBS News Radio 88. And Jared, great to talk to you. This is a first, right?
I think this is a first. I think this is a first. You and I go way back, and Steve, I mean, I don't. Without going into details, you are a very large part of kicking off my radio career. So, I always let you know on those anniversary dates I'm indebted to you.
Yeah, I know. I got lucky. I was running a sports department at what was Shadow Sports and. Here in the New York area, and when a piece of talent falls into your lap, was Shadow Sports, and here in the New York area, and when a piece of talent falls into your lap, timing-wise, I picked up the phone, and you did what you had to do, and the rest is history. So I always value our friendship and the way it all unfolded, and I'm very anxious to hear what you have to say about this. First of all, the latest news, Jared, is that the Dolphins have agreed to delay their meeting with Jonathan Martin. The ownership was going to speak with him, but the NFL requested that they don't do it because they're going to they're conducting their own investigation, and they want to get that done first. So I don't know what difference that makes, but where do you think this is all leading? Let's start maybe at the end. Where is this all going to lead on the Dolphins?
The Dolphins, to me, are becoming right now. And I feel badly for Dolphins fans because I have some friends who are some good good friends, I should say, who are Dolphins fans. It's kind of an embarrassing. They're the embarrassment of the NFL. Might as well be like an 0-16 type of season. Because last night it felt for me, I don't know, Steve, when I was watching the game, I felt like the Buccaneers were like America's team. I was rooting for them, and I was just kind of watching from the side because I was disgusted hearing the Dolphins owner, Stephen Ross, earlier in the day during his press conference of what's going on. To me, it's, we could talk a black eye for the NFL. But I'm not surprised at all. This is happening. This is the NFL. Talk a black eye for the NFL, but I'm not surprised at all. This is happening. This is the NFL or soccer.
Well, what was your problem, Jared, with what Stephen Ross?
Or soccer.
What was your problem, Jared, with what Stephen Ross?
Hey, no, this isn't like a factual thing. As a talk show host, sometimes people say, "Well, where's your fact?" And I would go back to a line of that Quentin Tarantino once wrote in one of his movies. You don't need proof when you got instinct. And on this one, I feel like my instinct.
No, well, it's all about instinct here. We don't know the whole story. We're all giving our opinion on what we know. So go ahead.
Listening to Stephen Ross reminded me of listening to Bud Selig talk about how great baseball's drug program is. Bud to me sounds the same as he, pretty much as he did when he was before Congress and getting lambasted. What Stephen Ross sounded like to me last night. And then just watching again an interview online is somebody who's a really, 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 really rich guy who's trying to protect his business, which is fair, as any businessman should be doing. But in this case, it's kind of a tough one because it's in the public opinion. It's in the public spotlight. When we look and you say, why are we discussing this? This is everywhere. Stephen Ross was praising the moral character of his coach, Joe Philbin, on countless occasions. And I don't think Stephen Ross is in position to be talking about praising moral character. To me, that doesn't mean anything, because when he went and said that, he pointed out social media. He says, in today's world, social media, And I thought, wait a second. So you're not supposed to behave a certain way because you're going to get caught, or because you do what's supposed to be right? And to me, it was a matter of, oh, we got caught. That darn social media, that darn Twitter. Our fellows got to learn to keep this quiet and keep it inside. That's what I got from it. That was what registered with me. And my take is, huge dog and pony show. As I'm listening to the audio that you were playing here, opening up the segment with that was with Jay Glazer from Fox. On
yeah,
Sunday.
Incognito and Glazer, yeah.
And Richie Incognito. At first, it sounds like it's like a first class of an acting troupe who's never had any acting experience, and they're sitting around the table doing a read-through of a script. It sounds ridiculous. Because as we go through, there's a lot of he said. To me, this is like a fight between two brothers or two sisters, or what we call a cat fight. You don't get in the middle of it. And if the teaching, I don't know why we're talking about.
Well, let's just hear the next cut, and this is what Incognito says, puts it more in perspective, and does speak to what you just identified as or classified as a fight between two brothers. Let's go to cut 32. We have 32? We don't have 32?
These numbers up for a second, James.
No, that's not it. Okay, sorry, my mistake. It's the other Dolphins. But anyway, Incognito talks about how Martin sent him a text, one of 1,100 that they exchanged during the course of a year, where he too said, "I'll kill your whole family." And he says, "Now, did I think he's going to kill my family? No." So that puts it a little bit more in perspective. But let me ask you this, because if it's interesting with the social media brought up by Stephen Ross, and what was he saying? Was he saying we got caught, or was he saying what's wrong is wrong? But if this is the way, if this is the culture of the NFL clubhouse and NFL locker rooms, if it's typical.
Steve, do you think this is widespread? Because I don't. I think that the norm is more where it's not so disgusting and dirty.
I would have to look. When I first heard the voicemail that Incognito left, and then I looked at the history of Incognito. At his universities, getting suspended, two separate universities, and having players in the NFL to throw their helmets at him and they get suspended, and being voted the most hated player in the league, etc. And this outrageous, the voicemail that we now know about with the curses and the racial things. I said, this guy is out of his mind. He's a loose cannon. He's never going to play football again. And then I see him sitting there with Glazer. He looks like a clean-cut kid, like anybody's big brother or something. I see him sitting there with Glazer. He looks like a clean-cut kid, like anybody's, big brother or something.
Steve, I don't know. Think of also the mentality that it must take to be a professional football player. This is, to me, what makes it kind of so much of a hypocrisy, because it's a tough man sport. As fans, think about what we hear in the crowd, things about even what we might yell at the TV, knock the snot out of him, and much worse than that. That comes out. There's a brutality to the sport that we do inherently love, and there's a way. Whether it's controlled violence or something. Football is football. It is what it is. So in one breath, we have this very dangerous sport that all of a sudden are we concerned about as sticks and stones may break my bones thing? Because that's what it sounds like a little bit from the outside when you see what's really going on here, because Martin, for a year and a half, seemed to sustain it and play this game, and we didn't see any signs of how bothered he was. But then in the other breath, Steve, you have stories at the same time coming out about one of our greats, Tony Dorsett, all of diagnosed with CTE. You have Mark Duper, former Dolphins receiver. I think I heard Leonard Marshall's name the other day as well. So the NFL is not an educator. They're not school. They are what they are. It's a multi-billion-dollar entertainment industry, which I believe is a dying breed as what it is, because something has to change. So they're trying to protect investments in all different places. In one breath, they try to say we're educators, we're trying to do the right things, we're good people. But on the other side, it's like, come on, you can't have the sport, the barbaric sport, unless you have a barbaric mentality. That may really bother some people, but I don't know how the barbaric sport unless you have a barbaric mentality. That may really bother some people, but I don't know how.
Oh, absolutely. And hockey players are different than baseball players. It's I don't know, what a cultural thing, sport culture thing. We're talking to Jared Max, former 1050 ESPN New York radio talk show host here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Let me ask you, I know the classification of bullying gets to you and it gets to me. Now, it gets to us maybe for different reasons. To me, if they're holding up rookies for money, under the threat of physical violence or something, that's extortion. The cops need to be called in. If they're threatening, if these threats are to be taken seriously in the texts or the emails, where they're going to kill your family, if you consider that real, then the cops have to be called in. That's not bullying. That's extortion and threatening.
I agree. I also wonder if part of it is people, because there's so much money that's being made, that everybody might just keep quiet and say, listen, just shut up and look the other way. Look at your bank account, and then people might say, oh, okay, I'll deal with it.
Well, I want to bring up, because we talked last night, as we do from time to time before the interview, and you said, tell people, and you came out on the air. I mentioned this earlier when I was plugging that you come on. You came out as a gay man on your show on 1050 ESPN a couple of years ago, I guess, and so bullying holds a special meaning for you in the context, different context, but that's people equate bullying, and they right away they think of different things, including kids who are bullied for being gay. But lots of kids are bullied for a lot of different reasons. But
you get bullied because you wear glasses,
right? Fat, can't play sports, whatever. Yeah,
because your mom was a drug addict or something. People get picked on and whatnot, and there's the hard knocks of life that we learned through. I mean, the extent of my bullying growing up was my brother beating the daylights out of me on a regular basis. Not in the sense of, what I guess today, probably would have been called something, well, bring in Dyfus or something. But, it's the school of hard knocks. And I guess I'm glad I had a bigger brother who taught me certain ways. But when it comes to certain matters of bullying and getting at people for things that they can't essentially control, the Tyler Clementi story really kind of hit me hard, because when I was in college, while I wasn't being bullied, for me, the hell that I put myself through, thinking the darkest of thoughts and whatnot, when I came to realize that I was kind of very different from the majority of the career that I planned my whole life for, I experienced a lot of dark thoughts that I know Tyler Clementi did too, but he acted on stuff. And so when I saw what took place within the Clementi Foundation, and that was all based around bullying, I think it's all incredibly important that it's just from a level of society where let's act like advanced human beings, and the bullying thing kind of is a little barbaric and primal.
That would be nice. That would certainly be nice. Hey, Jared, I'll have you back to talk about different things, different sports issues as they come up.
Or we'll run into each other in ShopRite.
Yeah, or a certain restaurant. Listen. Great. Best of luck to you. I know wherever you wind up next, they're going to be very, very lucky to have you, and I'm proud that you're my friend.
Hey, same here, buddy. Thanks so much.
Take care. Jared Max, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Yeah, look, I don't know what's going to happen with this anymore. I really don't. The NFL's going to investigate. You know what's going to happen? Someone's going to be suspended. Incognito is going to be suspended for a full year. The coach is probably going to get fired. One of the coaches, not the head coach, for encouraging it. I'm not saying I even know that this is true, but that's what will happen. And they'll move on from there as if it never happened. And maybe this is the culture of the NFL, but I don't know enough to say it is. So what do I know? 877 Newsmax, what do you want to say on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV?